Hi folks, and Céad Míle Fáilte. So if you have your GS and you want to ride 2 up, especially as a small rider, well, this is the video for you, where I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to handle the weight of the bike and your pillion the best way possible. If you know me, you know I love my rules. So here we go. Rule number 1, communication. I think communication with your pillion is absolutely key, and it's what's going to make or break your trip. So make sure that you talk to your pillion both on and off the bike, right? To make sure that you have a plan and that they understand the do's and don'ts of what to do on a bike. Also, put yourself in their shoes, right? If a pillion jumps on the bike with you and they never riding a bike or never been a passenger on a bike, and you just go, full throttle and go crazy, they're not going to have a good time, right? They're going to be scared and they're going to be, hanging on for dear life. So make sure that you understand what you want them to do. Practice, of course, right? But talk to each other, right? Make sure that you have a plan, especially when coming down to a stop, hey, let me put the side stand first, or, jump off the bike and then I'll put the bike on the side stand. Whatever works for you guys, make sure that you have a full understanding and you know exactly what to expect and work as a team, because you're effectively a team, right? So on the bike, for me, key thing to have is a communicator, right? Have your communicator on your helmets, both helmets obviously, and that will help you a lot. It makes a huge difference when riding on the pillion, and I'll highly recommend it. So yeah, like I said, communication is absolutely key. Rule number 2, and I guess this one is more of a recommendation more than a rule, is practice. Make sure that you go out with your pillion on a day out, but making sure that it's not a day trip, it's a practice day. If you decide to go, let's go for a ride, things at the beginning might get a little bit frustrating where, hey, don't do this, do that, whatever, right? And now we ruined the day trip, right? So make sure that you take it as a practice day. Don't try to go to any new places, right? Go to somewhere where you know the roads, you know what to expect. Make sure that you go to that rule number 1, which is communication, right? Which, like I said before, talk to each other, learn from each other, right? There's a few things that you will be doing as a rider that, will affect what the pillion is experiencing, and vice versa, right? Because if the pillion is moving around and you don't know about it, right? And, it unbalances your bike or stuff like that, you have to make sure that you learn those things from each other. Also, especially as a smaller rider, the main challenges, like always, right, are going to be at very slow speeds. So make sure that you go into a parking lot or something like that, right, and you practice the jumping on and off the bike, right? See what works best for both of you, right? And we'll see a few examples later on. And then from there, start progressing, right? At the beginning, try not to bring any panniers or any extra weight. Make sure that you're as light as possible so you don't add more layers of complication into the whole thing. Later on, then you can add more, especially if you're planning, obviously, a big trip, right? Start adding more weight, more, cases or whatever the case might be. Again, practice is absolutely key, and go out and making sure that you take it as a practice day, right? Learn from each other, talk to each other, and that will get you the best results. Rule number 3, and I think this one is also very important, and I'm looking at you riders, make sure that you understand your responsibility and you adjust your ride accordingly. That doesn't mean that you have to be riding like a grandma, right, and doing 20 kilometers an hour the whole thing and keeping the bike upright at all times. That's not what I mean. It means that you have to adjust your ride, making sure that you account for your pillion, first of all, right? And you also understand what they like and what they don't like. Some pillions might be a little bit more adventurous, right? And they might love speed and, leaning angles, etc. Some might not, right? Some days they might be more comfortable. Some days they want a more chill ride. Again, going back to rule number 1, which is absolutely key, it's communication. Talk to each other and adjust your ride accordingly. Also, of course, you are responsible for safety, which is, again, very, very important, right? So make sure that you understand the extra weight on your bike, the different feeling of it, right? Even though these are pretty big bikes and very stable, it is a difference. You do have more weight at the back, so make sure that you adjust accordingly. So have that in mind, and obviously make sure that you tidying all the 3 rules together, right? Communication, practice, and then your responsibility as a rider. As a pillion, you want to be sitting comfortably and relaxed. you want to be at the back, grabbing with your side rails, and also making sure that you're looking over the shoulder and looking at the road, see what's up ahead and everything. Definitely pay attention to the road. You can definitely look around and enjoy the view, of course, right? That's part of being a pillion. But you also want to make sure that if there's a corner coming or traffic, etc., right? And of course, paying attention always at rule number 1, which is communication, right? Either if you're using comms on the helmets or a little tap on the shoulder or the helmet to let your rider know that there's something coming or you want to stop or whatever the case might be. Again, I highly recommend having comms on your helmet. That makes life so much easier. I have the bike upright, as you can see, only 1 foot on the ground, and I can move the bike no problem whatsoever if I put the bike around, Like I said, the weight on the GS is so well balanced that, again, holding my back brake, no problem whatsoever with the weight of the pillion. There's absolutely no issues, and it's something that you can easily do. There's a few tips and tricks and techniques that you should consider when you're riding 2-up. First of all, especially as a small rider, is mounting and dismounting the bike. And there's a few techniques to it. First one is to have your pillion to jump on the bike first with the bike on the side stand. So they can come into the main seat and then scooting back to the rear position, holding on the pegs, and then easy enough for the rider to jump over. And again, there's 2 things to consider as well. I can do the, leg up, but that will depend on your physical condition a little bit. The other one is to step on the peg as well, which will give you a little bit of a step up. So basically what I'm doing, pushing on the peg, again, the bike is completely balanced. We are good to go, right? And then you put the bike upwards. And then when you come into a stop, you can do it same direction. Basically, I can step on the peg, get out, and then pillion will scoot forward and jump off normally. That's a pretty easy technique, using the side stand to hold the bike, and you'll have no problem whatsoever. Technique number 2 is doing it the other way around, where rider goes on first, still on the side stand, and then the pillion will jump on the peg and jump over the bike. That's it, we're mounted. It will depend a little bit on physical condition of both rider and passenger to see which way works better for you. Remember the tips and tricks that I gave you on the previous video as a small rider. Have your bike in gear, it will not go anywhere, it's nice and controlled on the side stand, or you can definitely push either on the rear brake or the front brake. So now the pillion can actually come off, stepping on the foot peg on the other side, and then, jumping over. That's it, and then as regular, you'll jump off the bike, no problem whatsoever. Technique number 3, and this is the one that I don't use often. There will be some situations where you might need to do this, but again, normally I will try to avoid this because you don't have the bike being held by the kickstand. You can keep the bike in gear, and the trick here is for the pillion to step on the peg and then go up, right? Instead of pushing one side or the other to unbalance the bike. So you'll notice that she will step up and go up with the bike and then swing the leg over. Go for it. There you go. Obviously, we both have quite a bit of experience riding 2-up and everything, so it is a little bit easier for us. But at the beginning, especially if the pillion wants to jump in and put a lot of pressure on it, it could unbalance the bike. And as short riders, obviously with the weight now and the bike off where it's not compensating for the weight, now I'm low to the ground and it's a little bit easier. You can have some situations where this could be a little bit tricky. I always prefer to have the kickstand down and have them jumping in and out. Okay, we're back in our sound testing box, and we're going to do exactly the same trick as before, lifting the bike out of the side stand where the bike is obviously leaning over way too much. As you can remember, this has quite a bit of a slope, right? So if I, even alone, right, I have to do the trick of putting the wheel forward and pushing on the suspension to bring it up. So imagine doing that with the weight of a pillion on the side stand, bike in gear, or holding the brake. It's easier for her to jump on. But now the trick is I have a way heavier bike to pick up, right? So if I try to do it on my own, don't help on this one, it's almost impossible. It's definitely not moving. So with this one, again, communication is key. That's rule number 1, as you know. We have to kind of in sync push the bike over. She will try to lean over and help me out, And even the same trick as I've shown you before on the previous video of kind of compressing the suspension, she will also do a little bit of a jump like that. So imagine it's like a V, right? So like this. You want to put the weight on that side, obviously, to help you out. Okay, so let's give this one a try. We'll point it uphill, push, and we go, right? So 3, 2, 1, go. Push, and we go up. That's it. That was perfect. Good coordination. It was take number 2, to be honest, but it worked. And actually, I didn't have to put too much effort into it. Let's try it again. Wheel pointing up. Remember to do that bit of a push. She will do the same. Accompany the weight of the pack. And again, communication. 3, 2, 1, go. Easy, easy. You see? No chance I can lift up the bike on my own without her help. So definitely work with your Pillion. Communication is key, as I said before. And now we are ready to go, especially on this situation. And now she can jump off, no problem whatsoever. You cannot see it because I have my hand protection, but I always keep 2 fingers on the front brake, just in case. So have those tricks in mind, and it's definitely doable, even being a small rider. This one was very close to being a rule number 4, but no, we'll keep it as a recommendation. But this for me is also very important, especially in longer trips, and it is pack smart. Be very smart about what you're bringing with you, and make sure that you don't bring anything that will bring weight or take space out of it, which is, you know, kind of confined, especially if you're riding 2 up. But for example, if you think, oh, I might bring this because I might go for a fancy need or whatever, if there's 2 mites in between, don't bring it. You are not going to use it, right? Chances are that 90% of the day you're going to be wearing full motorcycle gear, and most restaurants or pubs won't have any issue if you're wearing your gear. You can just go in there, right? Also, make sure that you're smart about your weight distribution. Don't put anything heavy on your top case. Make sure you keep your top case for the things that you need easy access to, especially when you're out riding. When you get to your hotel, chances are you're going to get everything out. So that's it, it doesn't matter where it is, but keep the things that you want easy access, a jacket, for example, rain gear, a camera, or whatever the case might be, you know, or your documentation, stuff like that, money, whatever. Keep the things that you want easy access, easy and quick access on your top box, and then your clothes and everything else on the panniers. Put the weight as low as you can, especially as a small rider, that is absolutely key. Also, bear in mind that on your pannier on the right-hand side, you will have your exhaust, and that will be a little bit smaller, right? So don't put a lot of weight on the left-hand side, because that will definitely affect your balance. Taking a note that the right-hand side will be smaller, make sure that you keep the same weight balance. Here's another recommendation that will make your life a lot easier, especially when doing a big trip, is to have either top box or pannier bag, right? So basically, one of them, this has a lot of miles on it, but you basically leave your panniers or your top box on the bike, just grab the bag and go to your hotel. It will make your life a lot easier. Even in the road, right? When you're stopping and you need to pick something out, it's a lot easier to just grab the bag, open it up, put it on top of the bike, see what you're looking for, and then put everything back together. Because they do have the shape of the pannier or the top box, you know the limits of it. Some are also expandable to suit the Vario cases or panniers. That will make your life easier, especially on the Vario panniers that open up sideways. If you don't use bags, when you open them up, everything just falls off. It's a little bit of a disaster. In one of our first trips, we actually used the panniers themselves as bags on my previous bike, and that was a nightmare. They're heavy, they're cumbersome, and you know, it makes no sense to do that. So definitely get a couple of bags, and even inside the bags, consider using Ziploc bags, right? To make sure that you keep things tidy and organized. Have those recommendations in mind. They will make your trip a lot better. If you remember on a previous video, as a small rider, I showed you on this little bit of slope how to push the bike backwards, right? Which is basically grabbing the handrail, grabbing the handlebar, and then pushing backwards, never crossing your feet. If you're traveling and if you're doing a big trip, you'll have the bike probably loaded, right? With pannier, top case, etc. But also you have a Pillion. So now you can do the same exercise with 2 people pushing, which helps. So pull the bike up, grab your Pillion, and then together you can start pulling the bike backwards. She can even help to grab the bike, you know, and keep it steady, but doing the same technique. And again, this is the rule number 2, right? Practice. This is something very useful to do between 2 people. So practice with the bike unloaded, so she knows exactly, or she or whoever your pillion is, they know how to handle the bike and what techniques to use. It works for everything, right? Not only a downhill or a slope, but also on any type of situation, a parking lot or whatever, where, you know, handling the bike around will be much easier between 2 people. So that's a plus. All right, so here's a few tips for the pillion actually, right? Which is again, very important for the whole riding stuff. As a pillion, you want to be neutral with the bike. Don't try to help while riding on leaning the bike on a corner or anything like that. That will definitely upset the riding of the bike, right? So if I'm on a corner, I know exactly how much to lean over, how much bars input to give to the bike. So if you start leaning over or doing something like that in between, that won't be good. Having safety in mind, always use your grab handles in the back. The whole hug and love, you know, it sounds cute and everything, but that's definitely not the way to do it. Even in sports bikes, you will have your grab handles at the back. That is the safest way to do it. So again, stay neutral. Don't help out while riding. Also again, rule number 1 is very important, communication. If you need to adjust your sitting position or something like that, so move around with the seat. You can see how she's moving the bike over without me giving it any input, right? So if I'm riding, right, and we're doing highway speeds and everything, that little bit of movement, if I'm not expecting it, it could be, you know, not dangerous per se, but it will scare me, right? And we have this conversation before, right? So she now definitely lets me know, either with the comms, top of the shoulder, top of the helmet, whatever the case might be. The other thing is, if she needs to adjust anything, right? Look at the time, grab something, you know, prepare money for the toll ahead, anything like that, she's no longer grabbing that bike. So as a pillion, you should definitely let your rider know, saying, hey, I'm going to, you know, let off the bike and do whatever it is. So I know that I need to take extra careful while riding because she's no longer grabbing on the bike. So I don't want to do any sudden movements. And again, as a pillion, you should pay attention to the road. So if I'm overtaking or anything like that, that's not the time to, you know, adjust your sitting position or grab something or whatever the case might be. Look ahead, see what's going on the road. And if it is, you know, a quiet, or let me know, right? Hey, can I grab money? Can I look at the time, check on my phone, whatever the case might be? Communication is key. So when you do that, then I can adjust my riding accordingly, like I said before, right, on what the pillion is doing. So have those things in mind as a pillion, and those will be the things that I would recommend that you do. So there you have it, folks. 2 up on a big bike, even as a small rider, no problem whatsoever, definitely doable. You have to remember the 3 rules, right? Communication, absolutely key. Practice, for sure. And then being aware of your responsibilities as a rider to make sure that the ride is safe and it's enjoyable for everybody, right? So have those things in mind. Don't worry about size or anything like that. It's absolutely doable. And again, I'm only with 1 foot on the ground at the moment, right, if you can see. And the bike is perfectly balanced, as I always say with these GSs. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you folks on the next one. Thanks.